Thank you so much for being intentional and being a part of this very special day and collaboration here at Girl Hub GR. We are so grateful that you're here today. So let's start out the day by introducing the amazing artists who come to be here and sharing a little bit about the mission and vision and how this came to be. So I'm going to pass the mic to Stephen.
All right, thank you. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you guys for being here. Thank you for showing up. I really appreciate you guys' support and being here today. So, a little background on how Art Exchange got involved with this incredible, amazing event. I'm going to put this one down. You know, for this second. Because there's some. Not the audio person's technician. I'm not even sure if I need the microphone, but we were participating in an event with the Grand Rapids Art Museum. And we were promoting African American artists or artists of color here in the West Michigan community. And then through that event, we met Stephanie. And so Stephanie we hit it off. She talked a little bit about her mission and her vision for Grow Hub and how Grow Hub was really a place of inclusion, really a place for entrepreneurs and people from all walks of life to come together and share their passion and their dream and to do great things for the community, which really spoke to Art Exchange and what Art Exchange is about. And so that was just a really natural fit for us to collaborate and participate in an event like this. Unity and purpose. And I thought, what a perfect opportunity to promote the arts, because the arts, that's kind of what it does innately. Well, the art is all about bringing the community together and bringing people together, and that's part of the reason why we are here today. And we are so grateful and thankful that we get to be here and participate. So thank you for that. Thank you very much. I would like to introduce some of the artists that I get to work with. I get the honor and the pleasure to work with on a regular basis. They put incredible, amazing work out in the community all the time, and I'm just thrilled and honored that I get to work with these amazing artists of color. First up, I would like to introduce artist extraordinaire, my mentor, one of my inspirations, my guide. I'd like to introduce Laurel Reynolds.
Hey guys, thank you so very much for having us. And we are honored to be a part of this event. We can't thank you enough, really, for coming out and participating and just showing up. We really do appreciate it. First of all, I am particularly honored to be asked to participate in this magnificent bowl of magic here called Stephanie. Also, it is an honor to be in the same room with artists like Isabel, Alfie, Ryan, and Ricardo. Please take advantage of all of the works that they have here available tonight. Peruse them, let them know what you think of them, let you know what you think of the works. And we thank you again so much for coming out tonight. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next up.
Gotta take the mic from you. And in addition to, this is about coming together at Girl Hub GR. So this journey to get here and started at the first female and family-owned, purpose-driven business incubator, I'm looking across at so many people who played such a huge role. Monk, who was with me at GR Summer Project and really helped believe in a vision to create a space for young people, starting in our local parks. Just people like people today coming together and giving of time, talent, and treasure is such a beautiful blessing, and what makes Grand Rapids and our community what it is today. Our grass group, who's in the audience supporting today, who've been with me on the journey since I started Grow Business Today, which led way because people in this room chose to hire our business and chose to say yes to giving us a shot to share our talent and to share our purpose with you. Thank you. If you would have hired us, this wouldn't have been possible. To the gentlemen and the mentors that I have, I gotta shout my mentors out to you, Stephen. The wonderful Steve Lopez, who I met three years ago when he was just starting his business and has been such an increment part of this journey, and who believes in people, planet, profit, and purpose. To J.R. Muller, who also said yes to helping to sponsor this event. As a startup, it's It's not like we have tons of funds in the bank, right? We're nitty and gritty, getting out there and believing in God and believing in our community. And through that, everything and anything is possible. To our wonderful Pastor Greg in Uptown Church, who have, look at these chairs, guys. I mean, like, the things that go into events, I mean, it takes everybody. To the support of my wonderful husband and my family and my daughter Gabby, who every day they sacrifice time with me so I can build a dream, and they believe in the dream and they're a part of it too. I love you so much, and I won't be where I'm at without you. So thank you, and thank you to my wonderful mom who's in the audience, and to it's all my family. And then I am going to shout out Erica in the back. She started Alma at the same time that I was starting entrepreneurship, and we both bring different skills to the table. I'm a for-profit to lead impact. She is charitable, like let's do this and let's go, and that's awesome. And you need everybody and everybody's talent at the table. So I just want to say thank you, and to everybody here at Girl Hub GR. Listen, Kathy DeBreeze, Dr. Andrea Blue, we are all part of that 5 million women who were displaced from the workforce during COVID. And look at what we built together and are going to continue to build together. So I appreciate each and every one of you. And I would like Steve to say a couple words as well, and great space for him too. So.
Thanks, Stephanie. Thank you so much. Grow Hub. Wow. When I met Stephanie 3 years ago, I told her, hey, I've been doing business for about 15 years over in Phoenix, Arizona, blah, 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 blah. I'm a big deal. And she says, okay, but you haven't done anything here in Grand Rapids and you know nobody. So why don't you know me? And I said, well, why don't I? The next thing I know, we start talking about not business. We talk about what creates business, and that's all of us. The conduit to business, the reason why business is business, why people do things and buy stuff and take their time to do other stuff than be with their family. It's all business. But at the end of the day, it's the community that grows that business. And the community vision that Stephanie and I share is so ingrained in diversity and culture, and understanding that the uniqueness that used to feel like division is the uniqueness that draws us together, and it's the curiosity that will keep us working together and having that every day, moving a little bit more with a conduit of somebody who has the energy that Stephanie has to bring the people together like she can, allows the energy for a community to grow more powerful than it started before, with more diversity and more action. And I've seen it happen in Phoenix, Arizona. I can see it happening here. And I will tell you, COVID was a blessing in disguise. Now we have an understanding more of who we are and what we as an individual can contribute to a community. And it's pure and real and from the heart. Nobody anymore cares about the big game, I don't think. And everybody that I talked to when I was in Phoenix before, I used to mentor entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs from ASU. And they would come in and they would say, oh, well, what's the big deal? What do I have to think about? Do I have to think about money, 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 money? I said, no. The thing you have to think about is what can you, as a person, sow from your seeds and give out to somebody else and allow them to take those seeds and sow. That's what you can do. What can I do? I don't know. But I will tell you, at the end of the day, a group of all of us that don't know, pretty much by the end of that day, have a good idea of what we can do. So that's really the reason why I chose to come back to Michigan, was to find an environment and a place that was raw, that didn't have that churning movement yet. And once I met this woman, I knew I made the right decision for myself. And after that, I look out into this audience, and I see not only the right decisions, but I see tomorrow's right decisions, and the decisions after those being right, and the decisions after those being right. It just makes me so happy to be, I guess, invited to talk, but who I am is more about not talking, but doing. So with Stephanie, and with who she is, I want to make sure that she continues her path forward. And I want to make sure that I'm a member for as long as she's around to help this place become what it can be, what it should be, what it's intended to be. A home for everyone. Not just one person, not just a few, but a home for everyone. Thank you so much, you guys. The last thing I want to say, strength. The strongest people I have ever run across in my life have all been the women in my life.
Thank you, Steve. And we are here today, not just because of the space, but because of art. Art has the power, as does music, to bring all people, all cultures together. And I'm honored today to share space with the talent that we have in this room. So let's introduce our local artists, and please show some love. Show some love, not just by clapping, but there's art for sale today, everybody!
And I want you guys to meet the rest of my heroes. I'd like to introduce you guys to the owner of Isabel Media Studios, photographer extraordinaire, Isabel Lopez Slattery. I say this every time I get to introduce this gentleman. I'm a fan. I fanboy out over this guy all the time. I follow him on Instagram, Twitter. I stalk him. He's phenomenal. He's international. Vogue, Italy. This gentleman is Mr. Alfil Reeves, guys. His photography. Oh, you see it. Just take a look at the art, at the photography around it. It's incredible. Also, this gentleman is, he doesn't know it, but he's my personal counselor. I get to look at his artwork and have moments where I get to center myself. It's counseling for me. It's therapy for me. In fact, some of his work is titled Green Therapy. You have to take a look at his work and maybe even own it. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ryan Crowley. Is it Reverend Ricardo? Is it Pastor Ricardo? Okay. Just Ricardo is fine. It's just Ricardo. Ladies and gentlemen, Ricardo Tavares. And let me tell you, there was a situation with his artwork, no hide, with Stephanie. So we are curating the space, and I just want to give you some background on some of his work. In fact, it's this piece right here. So we're curating the space, and we're hanging some of the artwork, and Stephanie walked past Ricardo's work, and she was taken aback by it. She was like, wait a minute. And it made her feel some kind of way. And so I kind of want you to share, I would like her to share her story because it just kind of speaks to the power of art. Do you mind?
I'm more than happy to. This is what we do at Grow Hub GR. We step into a safe space to have uncomfortable conversations that bring people together. And I have to lead by example, and I had to check myself at the door this day. Because here we are talking about how art brings up emotion and so many feelings, and somebody can look at a piece of art and 10 others see it a totally different way based on their own lived experience, which is all about diversity, inclusion, and equity. We all bring our whole self, at least we should, to every table. We should have safe space to do that. And art is a great conversation starter. So this specific day, here we are, and I'm through the journey of life, get into where we are today. I look at this picture, and it made me feel so uncomfortable.
Ella Hacienda.
Because of past trauma. Yeah. And I looked at her eyes, and I felt and went back to a place where I felt vulnerable, and I didn't feel safe. And it totally took me aback. And I had to step away. And I actually at one point said to Lowell, brother, I don't think I can have this in this space. It doesn't feel safe. And we went over there to the little congregation area, and we sat down, and we put our feet up, and thank you, because he stepped into a space and shared a story with me. My daughter Gabby saw the blue painting that Lowell did, and she loved it, and she felt so empowered by it. But then I learned a story about Lowell. Do you mind sharing that story about that painting and what brought us together in there, a little piece of it?
Oh, about Blue Water.
Yeah. Maybe just highlight Cliff Notes? Not the whole in-depth. I don't want to make you uncomfortable. But,
Bridge.
Too late.
okay. Well, here. Come on.
It was, first of all, that day, I understood why you felt the way you felt about the conversation. And I understood where you were coming from. But I didn't want Blue Water Bat, which is out there, or sale, either way, to have the same effect on me. But I appreciated, I just didn't think that you saw the artistic integrity of this piece as opposed to, and I'm glad that you expounded on the emotion, but there was some artistic integrity that I thought you kind of missed about the piece. As far as Blue Water Bath, we've all taken a very, very, very soothing and comfortable bath, all of us. It's our, I'm probably dating myself, but it's our Calgon taking it away. You guys remember that, right? Yeah. Calgon taking it away. It's our Calgon, and you don't have to use a bath to be taken away. You can use any type of space, safe space, that you might need or that you might require to feel safe, to take you away. So that's how Blue Water Bath came about. It was a safe space for her. And I think the model that posed for Ricardo's piece, she felt safe in posing for that piece.
And the beautiful story, too, of this painting is I could not sleep. So I'm a person, if I can't, I always have to go to bed and feel really good about hanging my head on a pillow, right? Like, no, I finished my day with integrity, I did the right things. And I remember this specific day, I really had a hard time sleeping because I'm like, no, you have to have this piece, Stephanie. You have to have this piece at Grow Up GR. You can't not. And then I had the pleasure of meeting Ricardo, and I made a call, and I said, I won't do this if we don't have the blue painting and that piece at Grow Up GR, because we are doing this dang thing here, okay? So then I met Ricardo, and Ricardo brought some light into my life, and now this piece needs to stay here forever. Can you share the story behind the piece?
Sure.
I just appreciate your vulnerability, Stephanie, and just sharing where you were coming from when you were thinking about this. I think that's important. So actually, this piece is one that I did after a long time of not doing any art. I don't know if I told you about that, Stephen, but so essentially, there was a model that posed for this piece, and there was I'm a part of a group of artists that they get together and do art, Grand Valley artists, and occasionally there is a model. And so when I'm looking at the model in the pose that she's in, I am captivated by her character more than I am by her body. And I think so often as artists, doing life drawing, you try to get the body and everything perfect, but what I felt in that moment that I wanted to portray was a woman who is overcoming obstacles and rising above her circumstances. And so that's why I titled the piece Ella Asciende, which means she climbs or she rises. And I chose to leave her body as kind of like an outline and a shadow rather than delving into that. I wanted to focus on the character and her determination to move up.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It's an incredible painting, so thank you for that. So this event, Unity and Purpose, is such it's not a titular title. It actually means something. And we are all united in a common purpose. And there's no medium that I could think of that's more apropos to bringing people together for a purpose than art. So again, I'm honored to be here. I'm thrilled to be here, and it's very meaningful to what we actually do. So the conversation today is exactly about that. Art's ability to bring us together as a community and to unite us. So all of the questions that I have today, I have all of 2, which means I need you guys to get involved, ask these incredibly talented people questions, concerns that you might have. But I'm only going to ask maybe a couple of questions, and I'm going to turn it over to you and ask you to engage. There is a microphone up here, a community microphone. If you're comfortable, if you have questions, please feel free to visit the microphone and pose your questions to this incredible panel. So I'm going to get us started with just a couple of questions, and then feel free to join us and chime in. So, you guys ready?
I'm ready.
Couple of questions, some hard questions.
Before the questions start, I would not be on this chair if it were not for this young lady right here. This is Adrian Howard.
Yeah, so Adrian is also a co-founder for Art Exchange, and we just kind of launched Art Exchange together. I'm sorry. She's also my significant other, so I'm going to hear about this. Not cool. Not cool. I wasn't.
She's the cog, man, in the wheel, man.
Absolutely. She's my better 5/8. For anybody that does math. So here's my first question to you. One of the questions that I have is, why are art-based communities so important? Why do we need communities that's dedicated and committed and focused on preserving and supporting artistic endeavors?
Oh my goodness. Where do I start?
We're gonna go down. I would like to hear from everybody. So let's go down the line. Lowell, Ryan, Isabel, Ricardo, and then Alfield.
I'm so excited to hear what this is has to say. We can talk about how transformative it is by the simple example of this beautiful young lady, Stephanie, how her interaction and what Ricardo's piece had, the effect that it had, because art is so subjective, and you take what you give. For me, for my job, is to formulate an idea, let it run down my arm, through the brush, and get the F out of the way, and let it do whatever it is going to like. And being that it's so interpretive, you can get what you need from it, or give it anything that you might need. So I think it plays a vital role in I think our emotional well-being as people. I think I know that was stupid, but
for me, the community and accepting the artwork that I make is where I feel it's an opportunity for people to kind of jump on board with what I made. I was telling the senior pastor earlier that me creating art is a compulsion. It doesn't matter if I sell it. It doesn't matter if I'm putting it in the basement where my wife looks at it and gets mad at me. It doesn't matter if I do sell it. It's very, very non-romantic for me, which is different for some artists. I create because I have to. If I don't create, then I get moody. I start to show the worst parts of me. And the people that truly understand how much art affects my daily life, they tell me, you need to go, put your hand on the brush and get out of my face. So I typically try to do that every day. And with some of my pieces, it's just those layers of the day being built upon each other, and it's my diary. So I share my diary, but nobody can read it because it's mine.
Well, for me, I think why art is very important to have in the community. I could say it, we all go, like the sports season, doesn't matter if you're basketball, football, whatnot, there's always a season for sports, and you go to a sport event and you gather with other people and you are excited to see the game and all that kind of dance, right? I think sometimes art is not looked at that way. because it's just hanging in the wall and you look at it and then you pass by it. If you don't talk to anybody else, you don't go through those feelings and assignments, or that if you have other friends that like to go to the art museum or like that, it's not as common. And for me, it's important to have it in the community because art is something that brings those same feelings that a sports brings to ourselves. It's not only like starting conversations. For me, it's a way to, the way I look at it in youth, in schools, it's a way to express themselves, to express either with a photograph, with a painting, how they're feeling, what they're going through, and maybe somebody can relate to that. And I think as humans, we always try to find somebody out there that can relate to either a situation we're going through, a phase that we're going through. When I started participating in art exchange, for me it was something very different. The first time that actually Adrian and Steve invited me to participate, I thought about it really long time because as a photographer in my company is based on capturing special moments and headshots and all that kind of stuff. But when you're displaying, you're photographing because you are expressing a feeling, a thought, or a face that you're going through. That was basically the series of my photographs, Faces of the Moon. It was to express, as humans, faces that we go through. We embrace beautiful faces, such as senior graduations and weddings and engagements and such as promotions. But what happens when you tell someone, I'm going through a divorce and it really feels really bad. Or we often don't say to someone, I really don't feel good. I feel sad today. And that is also a phase, and to understand that is also a phase. So for me, art is that. It's important to have it in the community, to have an opportunity to learn about ourselves, to learn about others, and to have those connections and celebrate and being able to express a part of ourselves and learn about others.
I'm just really glad I'm sitting on this end of the line. So it gave me time to think about what I wanted to say. So there's a couple of different angles that I could talk about this. What comes to mind first is I sometimes do still lifes, and I do pencil and charcoal, and I think those things are nice, and sometimes people look at that work and they're like, I really want that. I'm like, I don't even really want to give this to you because it's just a still life. The kind of art that moves me and the kind of art that I feel like we're talking about today is the kind that makes people reflect on their own personal state as well as the state of a culture and of a community. So I think we need art because it causes us to look at things in a way that perhaps we haven't considered before, or to see it through a different perspective, or to step into someone's pain just a little bit, or into someone's happiness or joy. So it's the reason why sometimes there are banned books, right, or banned photography, because it's provocative and it moves people to think in freer and in different ways. So I think we really need art because we need moments of reflection. We need moments to come together and consider what we are experiencing as a community, to think about our history in a different light, through different eyes, and to reconsider what our future could be.
For me, two words come to mind, community and therapy. I think for me, art has been a form of therapy in terms of being able to express how I feel, express what I'm going through, or even express what I might see in the community. So I think there's that aspect, and I think just the community in itself and how art brings people together from various different places and worlds. I think for me, that's one of my favorite parts of art is like I get to meet people from different perspectives, different backgrounds, and I think that in itself allows us to learn things and grow, and also be able to be exposed to things that we're not normally exposed to as well. So.
So I agree with everything that our panelists just talked about, and I don't think it's a stretch to say that art has this unique ability to unite people, because one of the guiding principles of art is unity. Your painting, your drawing, your photography, it has to have the proper composition, right? So the lines, the shapes, the colors, they all have a particular place, and you all have to bring all of those pieces together. They all have to be united in order to create a balanced, well-made composition, well-made piece of artwork. So composition, unity, is innate in what we do. And when we present that to the community, it's already there. You just have to engage. And through that engagement, you'll find unity. You'll begin to bind with others, maybe that you haven't found a connection with before. So it's very much an innate trait within art itself. It's just natural. So thank you guys for sharing that. Really appreciate that. Is there anyone in the community, anyone in the audience that might have a question, comment for us, for anybody on the panel? You want to step
I don't
over?
know if I need a microphone.
Okay. All right.
I heard thoughts about therapy and expression and things like that, and I'm kind of obsessed with like collective trauma healing. And I just want to know if artists can speak to how you take from individual therapy to collective community healing, if it's possible. How would you like to see it done?
Excellent.
Scale.
Excellent. Love it. We're going to start on this end this time. Thank you for that question.
Yeah, I think it's necessary. I think art is a different medium that people can use to be able to get therapy or express themselves or express pain or whatever that they're going through. So I think there are so many different mediums and avenues. And I write poetry as well. So I think about poetry, I think about painting, I think about photography, I think about all different types. And I think that it's necessary to be able to have those different mediums to be able to do those kind of things. So yeah.
I don't have an explanation for it, but maybe just an example of how this could be helpful and work. So I work with young people, and we took a trip to Detroit this past summer when we went to the African American History Museum, the Charles Wright Museum, I think is what it's called. And in the museum there is like a wing where they have rotating art. And the art in this particular space, it was highlighting an African American artist, and there were these beautiful paintings, just capturing. Some of it was capturing historical moments as it related to the Black community. Others were just kind of the reflection of the artist himself as being a Black man, and most of the youth in the group were also Black, and so having them walk through that space and consider art that reflected their own lived experience, it was amazing, and it was transformative, and it allowed them to be able to speak to things in a way that they probably hadn't been comfortable about speaking before, about the ways that they have dealt with trying to live out their identity authentically as being African American or African descent. We did have one person who was actually from Africa. And so it was amazing to see them talk about the oppression they felt, the hope that they were longing for, and just use art as the medium to be able to express their longing, their pain, and their concerns. So I'm not a therapist. I cannot tell you much more about like how a therapy could come through art, only that I've witnessed it and that I've seen it, and I think it's an avenue that we need to continue exploring.
And for me, I'll just give an example. So I'm so terrible with the years now. I think it was last year. I don't remember. So,
Nobody knows.
yeah.
Before or after? That's all we know.
Yeah, it was during, so roundabout way of saying it. But I'll give my example of me sharing the way that I cope using art with the community. So I did a mural on Michigan and Fuller, and it's right behind the subway. And the week before I went ahead and made that painting, or that mural, Jake Blake was shot in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I grew up there. I've had my own interactions with the police there. I've had my own, you know, interactions with everybody that's there. I still have family and friends that are there. And for the entire week after it, all the aftermath, I was just so fixated on what was happening there because I was conflicted. I mean, looking at it from just my perspective, I understand why the officer acted the way that they did in that situation. And that's tough for certain people to go ahead and say. But on top of that, I also had to witness the city that I grew up in burning. Like, all of those streets that they burned, that was by my high school. It got to a point where families above businesses were putting that they lived in the home with children because people were so afraid that people were going to light the business on fire and potentially give those children no way to get out of the building. So for 4 days, I was building myself up with that sort of energy, and it's making me shake right now. And when I went to the wall to paint, obviously I'm a black man, I stick out for that reason, but I was wearing a green vest, I had ladders, I had paint cans, I had a tarp to lay down where I was trying to avoid messing up the parking lot, and someone wanted to call the police on me because they thought I was defacing the building. And I was like, the opportunity to deface a building with the amount of stuff that I had. that was my thought process. I was like, man. But luckily, one of the employees there was aware of the program that was going on. The person that headed up the event actually called Grand Rapids PD to specifically tell them that I was working at a specific location and that another African American gentleman was working in a specific situation, so that if they got calls on it, at least they had some sort of foresight. Now, as I was going ahead and continuing with the painting, it was me physically putting my problem on the wall. I don't want to call it anxiety right now because I don't know if it was, but it was definitely a moment where I was hyping. And if you go see it, it reads right to left. It's orange on the right side, lots of shapes, lots of energy, and as it moves to the left, it starts to cool down, the shapes start to open up, and it feels different. And literally the reason why I say that I use that as my example is because I was so physically exhausted that I got all of that 4 days of energy out on that wall. And when I was talking with the building owner and the folks that actually headed up the project, I said, can I paint this whole wall? Which is a weird thing because I wasn't getting compensated to paint as much as I did, but I needed it. I needed it. And when I did that, there were people in the community that were coming up to me and talking about it. Some people felt that it was reading that way, that it was releasing all of this energy, this anxiety, this angst, all of that, and I didn't have to say anything to anybody. So that's my example of it.
Well, I'm going to try and be as brief as I can, as intelligent as I can. But for me, to answer your question, thank you so much for the question. And if I don't like Ryan, if I don't paint, I die. That's just my therapy. These three people, wonderful people right here in the front, who are three of my favorite people on earth, can attest to that. If I don't paint, I die. With art, with music doesn't require an explanation. You know how a song makes you feel. You know how a melody makes you feel. You know where you were, how old you are when you heard a song that brings you to a certain position, a certain station in your life, what you were doing. But for some reason, art requires an explanation. What was the artist thinking? Like there's some mystery to unfold with, and there really isn't. I paint for you to engage and how it makes you feel. Stephanie's a perfect example of how it made her feel. That's why I can't do what Ryan does. I can't do what Isabel does. I'm not that talented, trust me. But it's for the community to have for it to affect the community the way that it affects me. I don't paint just for, I'm not like Ryan. I paint to sell, to be honest with you. But I wanted to affect you. I wanted to affect you. I want you to feel a certain type of way. I did a painting called Numb, The Weight of Anxiety, because the year 2020 kicked all of our butts. We all felt some type of way about it. Whether we were locked in the house with people that we may or may not want to be locked in the house with. Or whether we were forced to do this or forced to do that. Either way, it had some type of effect on us, some magnanimous or minimal effect on all of us. And that's what I want you to get from, and I want the community to get from what we do, what I do, when I move the brush. I move the brush and I get out of the way. Take from it what you need. Give to it what you need. So that's how I feel about it.
I want to take another moment to kind of prove that that these creators are heroes. In 2009, Gallup conducted a survey, and they asked, I think it was almost 50,000 people, one simple question: what attracts you to where you live? And I'm going to ask you guys that same question. Conventional wisdom would say what? What attracts you to where you live?
It's quiet.
Quietness, maybe peace, serenity, calmness. That was number 10 on the list. Out of 10. Safety. Safety, same thing, idea. Peace, quiet, safety. That was number 10 on the list. Anybody else?
Convenience and family.
Family, convenience. Family, convenience. I have my list right here. Number 9 on the list. Out of 10. Anybody else?
Affordability.
Affordability. That was number 7 on the list. Right, neighborhoods.
Innovation.
Innovation. That was number 5 on the list.
Creativity.
Business, economy. Number 6 on the list. The top 3.
Close to food.
Culture.
The top 3.
Culture.
Social offerings, openness, and the third one was art. Art being education, business, security, school. So, ladies and gentlemen, these guys are extremely important to our community. They are the reason that most people would say, this is why I live where I live. And it came in the top 3. 2009 Gallup, you can look it up. So I just want to take a moment to, again, give these guys their flowers and let them know how important they are to communities. You are the reason why people live where they live and why they stay where they stay. So art is an extremely important piece of the community. Questions? Anybody else?
2 questions. Ryan, number 1, where is that painting specifically?
It's on Michigan and Fuller. Those are the cross streets. And it's right behind the subway.
Behind the subway. All right. And then secondly, is it low?
It's low.
Yeah. So that was interesting, and I think art is a mystery. I'm an amateur. Much of it I don't understand. Should, it's like, I have no idea. Should all art have cliff notes, a description, you just, I want to see that piece because I know what's behind it. Or should us amateurs be, drawing what we see?
Draw what you see, because I remember when I was younger, my brother, I was showing my family some sketches and some paintings that I've done, and I said, well, it's just a hobby. But I realized the art is so subjective, it's going to be exactly what you say it is. If it's just a hobby, that's what's going to come across the canvas. That's what's going to come down your lens. It's just a hobby. But if it's a passion that affects you and those around you, meaning i.e. your community, then that's going to show as well. So whatever, you can call yourself a novice, or you can call yourself a maven. Those are 2 opposite ends of the spectrum. But I don't think you should judge yourself so harshly. Because in any culture, a stick figure that we see on cakes is still art.
Yeah, I would, so I have a piece called Don't Touch My Hair. I think it might be in the front. It's a black girl where she's kind of putting her hand on her hair. And when I created it, the idea was a sense of protection. And I had it up at a gallery, I think a couple of years ago, and I had somebody come up to me and said, and their interpretation of it was nurturing. So I think the artists, we might create, our pieces and have a specific reason, but I think it's always open to interpretation, and people are always going to see it differently as well. So.
Stephanie, do you have something?
I actually do have a question, because you highlighted a really important thing about bringing community together in economics, which I think we all care about in this community, right? And you said art was number 3 on the list, which I believe. And something that touches my heart and I would like to be a part, and I think there's a lot of people in the room today that would like to see this change, is that in our school systems, arts and music are the first things cut for our kids. How, as a community, as experts in the arts industry, can we work together to change that and build that better in the future?
So I actually have two in-laws that are now both music teachers in GRPS. The best way to do it is get involved with school boards, get involved with the budgets, and be a part of that. Because if the people that are on the board don't see the value, then it's easier to cut. But if you see the value and you understand that it's necessary for kids, then we have to be the ones that go make that change.
You have to say louder now. You have to get loud enough, strong enough. You believe in it. You got to believe it. You can't, like I said, it can't just be a hobby. It's got to be a passion.
Yeah, and the crazy thing to me is like every turn you go look at, there's studies that show music, arts, and physical education have such an impact on children's lives, but yet those are the ones that get taken away.
I think that, just actually adding to what you said about being involved and in their boards and in the community. Also, I think just having conversations of how important that is. As earlier, how I was mentioning the example of sports. I think here in the United States, the culture around sports is very important. And we are more likely to support sports, right? To go to a football game, a basketball game, and whatnot. But how many times do we support the Grand Rapids Art Museum when they're having a gallery or the Grand? I mean, so I think culturally we still don't look at art as important as it is maybe like physical activity. Like if they are engaged in swimming team or in soccer team or whatnot. And so art and music, somehow I feel like culturally here in the United States, it's not value as important as it is sports. So how can we start having those conversations in the community that it is important, right? Like for the many reasons that we talk here, not only about an outlet to therapy, an outlet to get to know one another, to connect, for many reasons that we just talked about here. But I think it's just the importance of, even if you're not in the board, to be very intentional in our community, the conversations we talked about. And I feel it's a domino effect. Sometimes talking to one person, you don't know how that person is going to talk to another person. It's a domino effect. So don't think that just because you're not going to the board and that you don't have the time to be in a community event, support art, maybe just by talking, like I said, with someone else about the importance, maybe you don't know how that will take, like I said, that domino effect, and that other person will get involved.
I just want to add just a couple of thoughts. We gotta invest in where we say our values are, right? So put dollars behind it. Right, if it's not happening at the school, what can we do as a community to make sure that this keeps going in some way, some shape, or some form? Just because it gets cut at the public school doesn't mean that it can't exist. Perhaps we've depended on that for too long and too much. That being said, please do advocate for it to remain in the schools because it is important. I remember my second grade art teacher. I don't remember half of what happened in elementary school, but I remember my second grade art teacher. His name was Herschel Turner. He was a black man who specialized in making portraits of black cowboys. And I can guarantee you that him being involved in the school system at that time in my life has impacted who I am today and why I do what I do. The arts are important for young people, for youth, for children, and also for adults in general. And I really think that we need to continue to invest in it and say that we invest in it, not just with words, but with action and with money.
Did you have a question?
I don't have a question. I think I would just follow up a little bit. I agree that I think art and music obviously creates a foundation for your younger generation. but you talk about getting on the boards, I think it becomes a point where the community has to get more vocal, because you look at that, like the Kent ISD, who operate the purse strings to almost all of the local districts, and those board members are appointed for life. There's no term limit, so I think it's being more vocal going in and just fighting your purpose to say, we need this more in our schools. You know, we have, you know, KCTC, which is a vocational school. There's no reason that they can't have photography, they can't have art, they can't have these other things in there. But I think it comes down to the community being more vocal. I don't think it's necessarily that you have to be on the board, you have to get the board's ear.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
It seems like the state funding listens but doesn't support that. Do you think it's more of a private funding matter or advocating for
I
it?
think it's just like with anything, it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And someone at some point has to speak up. You have to be at these board meetings. I know that the ISD has board meetings once a month and they're empty. And we're talking about millions and millions of dollars. Why aren't we there? Why aren't we speaking out? We can sit here and have these conversations all day long, and you can put them on Facebook, but it's not getting to the intricate people that are gonna make the difference. And those intricate people are the ones that are sitting on the boards, that are appointed by the ISD, and they're kept there forever. They lose touch.
How do we know when those board meetings are? 'Cause I'll be there.
They're public notice. Anybody that, I
Okay,
think,
good.
works for the school system, I think all the board, they have to be, they're open to the public, and they're announced when they're gonna be, and they'll give their agenda, what they're gonna have on there, but, if you look at some of these, I've been to a few myself, and I look at it and go, this is not where money is even being used, and I just think that it comes down to the parents, the community. You have to be vocal. If you want change, you have to be vocal. I always say the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and the career that I come from, that's true.
That's very true. You had a question?
Yeah, so there's so much beautiful art all around us.
Well, thank you so much for everybody for coming out tonight to support our local artists and Grow Hub GR. We want to do many more events like this, and it takes a collective and a group to do it. A lot of the things we talked about today, we have the hearts in this room, we have the talents in this room, we have business owners in this room, we have banking institutions, I'm looking at you sir, hello, in this room. We have support of local businesses. Thank you again to J.R. Mueller. Thank you again to Steve Lopez and Zero Res. Thank you again to everybody, DJ Purpose, who shared his time and talent with us. Stock the Bar Vodka, who donates 10% more of every bottle sold to help local kiddos. If each of our businesses said yes to putting 1%, 5%, 10% together in one pool in the future, and I'm going to leave you with a thought to take action on together in the future. What change could we make? How could we rally and be the leaders for our local art community, for our local music? How could we make our voices heard without having to go and be on those board meetings, but create our own tables, our own boards, our own purpose-driven community? I mean, I don't know about you all, but I'm game. So let's leave today thinking about that, but not before we buy some local art. Because it's another thing to say, and action speaks way louder than words, you guys. So how you buy the local art today, when you walked into that first table, there's a list of all of the artists' work. Their title, there's a little code that you hold your cell phone up to, and it will scan and take you right to the place where you can purchase or learn more about the work. Also, if you see something you like and you want more, yes, artexchangegr.com rallies around our local artists, and this creates a space for us to do this and continue going. And our goal next year is, can I say it, Stephen? I'm going to put it out in this world, because I know when we say it, Lord provides, right? I know the universe listens. I know people show up. But this whole building, 565th Street, is one of the oldest buildings in downtown Grand Rapids. The history in this building and what's emerged from here, from economic development, impact, from business communities thriving and international, is pretty huge. But more importantly, we're family businesses in here. We all started from a seed, just like Grow Hub GR starting from a seed, just like Art Exchange GR starting from a seed. So next year, let's make all of this building transformed into the world-class local art hub
that Art Exchange GR has a dream and a vision to build and bring here to Grand Rapids. It sounds like a perfect idea to me, right? So thank you for everything tonight. And in closing, let's go look and buy some local art.